ban imports of Russian uranium to the United States. Russia is our third largest supplier of uranium, meeting about 16% of U.S. demand. Every dollar we give to the Russian state, I believe, supports the murderers in Ukraine. Do you anticipate that this administration will also ban imports of Russian uranium?
Thank you, Senator. If such a ban were in place, it is our role in DOE to ensure that there is a commercial viable supply to ensure that there is a continuous operation for our nuclear plants. And, you know, I too would agree that this, the Russian aggression really highlights the need for ensuring that we can onshore those capabilities.
Do you know when you'd expect the administration to maybe make a decision with respect to Russian uranium?
No, sir.
As you just said, our ability to onshore those capabilities. The United States, we have 93 operating commercial reactors. The reactors almost completely reliant on imports of uranium. Our commercial reactors import nearly half the uranium from Russia, its allies, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. You well know this. So you believe uranium produced here in the U.S., whether in private, state, or federal lands, really can play that critical role in weaning our commercial reactors off of Russian and foreign uranium.
Thank you, Senator. I think it is critically important that we wean ourselves off of unstable, untrustworthy sources of our critical fuels, including uranium.
Great. You know, in December of 2020, this Congress gave the Department of Energy $75 million to establish a strategic uranium reserve. The department is yet to purchase any uranium for the reserve. Do you know if the department plans to accelerate its purchases of uranium, and if not, why not?
Thank you, Senator. Those $75 million were appropriated to the National Nuclear Security Administration, and I, if confirmed, will work with them to accelerate the process toward a request for proposals regarding that uranium reserve.
With regard to this high-assay, low-enriched uranium that we know is so critical for that next stage of nuclear reactors, currently there are only two sources of high-assay, low-enriched uranium: Russia and the Department of Energy. Unless the department acts swiftly, our advanced reactors will be dependent on Russia. Senator Cantwell is here. We're dealing with one reactor in Washington State, the other in Wyoming. This is important to both of us. We just can't become dependent on Russia for that next stage of nuclear energy development. Do you know if the department is willing to produce high-assay, low-enriched uranium and make it available to our advanced reactors? And if so, what steps are you taking to ensure that both TerraPower and X-Energy in Washington State have the fuel that we need?
Thank you, Senator. It will be a challenge. Establishing a commercial supply of HALEU in the U.S. is really critical for these two reactors, as well as the reactors that will follow on their heels. In order for those two demonstrations to be a true success, they will need to commercialize more broadly. And I'm so grateful for your two states for being really in the lead of this vision that we have for these reactors. You know, in FY 2023, the department proposes to make available small quantities of high-assay, low-enriched uranium through limited DOE inventories. And we are already supporting the private sector in establishing an enrichment capability in Piketon, Ohio through their demo. In order to ensure robust U.S. commercial supply chain capabilities, it's going to involve enrichment capabilities to expand, as well as investigating the opportunities for DOE material, including recovery and downblending, potentially, of materials stored at Y-12 and Savannah River, and completing construction of that enrichment demonstration in Piketon.
So a few years ago, when Westinghouse entered into an agreement to fuel Ukraine's nuclear reactors, these are all Russian-built reactors now using American fuel. As we look to wean Europe and off Russian energy, are there additional opportunities for our U.S. companies to provide fuel for Russian-built reactors?
Thank you, Senator. And that relationship between Westinghouse and the Ukrainian reactor fleet is a really good example of the decades-long relationships that nuclear energy can create as we cooperate on an international scale. And those Westinghouse-fueled reactors in Ukraine are at incredible risk right now. It's a great concern, and it does provide an opportunity for our American companies to fuel those reactors, to support them with maintenance guidance, to contract with those companies and other nations to ensure their safe operations, and to bring those reactors sometimes up to Western safety standards.
Let me ask you one final question, because you mentioned risk. There's a headline, Wall Street Journal front page yesterday, in Chernobyl, trapped staff work at Russian gunpoint. This is yesterday's front page Wall Street Journal. The article explains that Chernobyl's technicians and support staff working nonstop since February 23rd. Goes on to say the workers are suffering from extreme fatigue, dizziness, nausea, headaches, terrible headaches, it said. What can you tell us about the current status of Chernobyl and Ukraine's other nuclear reactors?
Thank you, Senator. This is a very serious situation with regard to humanitarian issues around the Chernobyl operators and staff, as well as a nuclear safety issue. It is reckless to conduct any military activity in the vicinity of a peaceful nuclear facility. In the context of Chernobyl, as you know, in the early moments of the invasion, Russian forces moving through that exclusion zone kicked up some radiological material, but ultimately it was localized. It was kept fairly low. We monitored that in our Emergency Operations Center in DOE, and it has since died down, but the remaining concern is that during that invasion, those individuals operating the Chernobyl shutdown reactor and its spent fuel pools have been trapped since then. It is of the utmost importance that any nuclear facility be managed by well-rested, well-fed, well-cared-for individuals. And it's critically important to me that we pursue an international strategy to hold each other accountable in the context of these peaceful nuclear facilities during a conflict.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. And now we have Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nuclear energy has a long history, obviously, in the state of Washington. Today, we are over 12,000 nuclear-skilled